Hey Internet, we're here with Steve of Gamers Nexus to call. Me. All right.
What is
Good?
benchmark?
What is benchmarking? Oh, we don't have to get there, do we? Oh, what is a benchmark? That is a good one.
I wasn't serious.
Oh, okay.
It's very aggressive phrasing.
Very aggressive.
Very classic Gordon aggressive phrasing.
You're going to log into the webcam and insert coins. We'll run whatever clock speeds you want to run. We'll run it. $9.99 per hour. Or no, that's too short.
That's it? Can I get a roll of 20s, please?
There you go, Internet. That's why Steve can't run every test you want him to. Hey Internet, we're here to talk the ethics of benchmarking with Gamers Nexus.
Yes.
This video is sponsored by Silverstone, the leader in small form factor power supplies for over 10 years. The SX1000R Platinum is the company's SFX 12V 4.0 update to the pioneering SX1000 Platinum released in 2020. It now includes the Gen 5 12V high power connector along with ATX 3.0 performance updates and quieter operation. Pick up the SX1000R Platinum today and give your small form factor PC the power supply it needs to tackle the latest CPUs and GPUs.
Hey Internet, Gordon Young with PC World, here with Stephen Burke of Gamers Nexus. By the way, go over there, like and subscribe, and please buy some of those t-shirts to support independent journalism that he and his team do.
I'm actually going to have to pay you at this point.
Yes, got to pay me. Do you do the shirt?
Yeah. Can I get a roll of 20s, please?
But I am with Steve at Computex, but I want to talk to him about something that is near and dear to me. We did part one of this with Dr. Ian Cutchess, where we talked about the ethics of benchmarking. And the reason I want to do it is because I think a lot of people don't understand, why reviewers pick the benchmarks they do, why they run them the way they do.
It's very aggressive phrasing.
Very aggressive.
Very classic Gordon aggressive phrasing. A lot of people don't understand. You're already losing.
Okay.
You can say I'd like to clarify how benchmarking.
Some people. No, I'm going to say actually. I think it's fair to say because there's a lot of questions, and immediately people will go, "You're doing this because you're cheating for the other vendor, and I have the other vendor."
Right.
And I sort of think people think we're taking sides.
You're paid off, or you have a personal bias for one of the vendors. I don't know, or you're not representing a technology they care about that the product can do because maybe as a reviewer you don't actually know about it, but they really like it. So there's a lot of reasons.
Yes, many reasons.
Or my favorite one, which is just, why didn't you test the i5 9600K with the GTX 760 because that's my computer when you reviewed the new 7600? When people get into the, here's my specific configuration.
Yes.
And then we get into Gordon's future career, which is valet benchmarking.
Yeah, valet benchmarking. We're going to do custom benchmarks for you. You're going to log into the webcam and insert coins. We'll run whatever clock speeds you want to run. We'll run it. We'll do it.
What does that mean?
I don't know, because they single channel. Yeah, we can run single
Gordon,
channel.
You're not.
We can run single channel if you want it.
You're not that old. You're trying to. We're gonna log into the webcam.
Do people not know what that is? Oh, I guess that doesn't
I
exist
think it's
anymore.
more of the log into a webcam.
But that's what you called it back then. I don't know what they call it now. I don't know what it's.
You used to say logging into webcams.
I swear to God,
Wouldn't you log into a service?
I don't know how these services work. I only see the ads when I accidentally click on a website.
I'm just talking about a webcam.
There's people who do.
You don't log into webcams.
Oh, I see. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The ethics of benchmarking.
Well, let me tell you, you used to have to actually log in.
This video is way better with it.
We're going to get the train back on. We're going to lift it up back on the tracks. Steve, let me ask you something. It's not even serious. The first one, Ian, was serious. I've taken this off. Do you pick your? What do you see when you pick your benchmark? Are you trying to be as fair as possible to vendors? How do you weigh picking?
It's so simple for us. So we look at, first of all, we keep our benchmarks around a really long time, like the games, and towards the end of our benchmarking suite, it starts to get older, obviously. It's to the point of being almost decrepit. We have GTA 5 in there, which I repeatedly say is a game from 2015 from 2013, because it re-released on PC in 2015. But then we also have newer stuff, and so the reason we choose the things we do is consistency and historical data. It allows a really quick way to reference previous data, especially in a relative, like card X is Z% better than card Y.
Right.
Really easy for that. And I think, I know some outlets maybe choose like a custom suite of games for each review and then retest everything, which I also think is completely valid. It just kind of depends, like what's your objective, what specific aspect you want to cover. We like to cover historical relative scaling and value scaling, and that's an easy way to do it. But it's also, it does come down to the more boring aspect of just logistics and time, where if we have games, we know how they work, what their quirks are, and how to work with them. We keep them around. So as for choosing those games, so every year we do it's almost like a product life cycle. We do a half-step refresh. We'll add 2 new games. That's every half year. And then every year we do a full refresh, replace the entire suite, and maybe keep 1 or 2 we like. And for choosing them, typically we'll look at a cross-section of game engines, multiple APIs. So we have Vulkan, DX11, DX12. There's a DX9 game in there as well, and then we try to get a couple different types of games, like high frame rate FPS, low frame rate RPG, stuff like that. We've just added time-based, like Stellaris.
Right.
And the reason we choose all of those is to just try and cover a wide swath of things, so that for us the goal, and I think this is what your people don't understand thing comes into play, and I agree with. The goal is not, but I want to know how well the product does in Fortnite, or I want to know how well the product does in Stellaris. That's not what we're trying to answer. What we're trying to answer is how well does the product do versus this other product in this scenario, or this type of scenario. So yeah, that's the approach.
So like oftentimes vendors will, they'll brief us and they'll say, hey, there's a new feature in this software, or in fact, there's some new software. We think this is important for consumers going forward. Do you ever implement those suggestions into your benchmark suites?
We definitely consider them, and so the approach we'll take with that, I don't know, if we choose an example, maybe is easier. So ray tracing, maybe. So if like NVIDIA, right, when they're first talking about, we think ray tracing is really important, and then once AMD added it, the capability, it was like, okay, this actually is something we should test for sure. And what we'll do there is normally look at what games are available and how do they cover that feature. We do our own internal testing, see if we like it, and then after we establish what we're definitely using, sometimes, not always, but sometimes I'll reach out to the vendors, and if I do, I reach out to, in this case, all 3 of them. And so we say, hey, we're rebuilding our benchmarking suite, and we've got space for, let's say, 3 more games. There's 3 vendors, and we want to know, what do you think? And we'll listen to them. And I mean, probably half the time I disagree, and we do our own thing. But every now and then, there's hundreds of games that could be relevant for testing. Every now and then, they're like, okay, so there's a really unique scenario where our product, it scales, instead of a normal 16%, it actually scales 25%. And that actually is kind of interesting from a technology standpoint. You can do the education of why does this happen, and it's helpful to, I think it depends who you talk to at the companies. So that's probably important to point out. When we ask them, hey, what are you trying to build this product for? Because I think that's important that you review it based on how it's advertised, right? You need some barometer. And it's fair to criticize it based on who they're trying to sell it to. But we'll talk to normally the engineers or people in the test lab, not to PR.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Wow, pretty cool. So the other question I have is, I often have this problem because I get people that give me feedback that they don't like. When I do AMD CPU versus Intel CPU, I generally will run them with the same memory clocks.
Yeah.
As much as I can, because I feel it's at least fair. And I know the argument now is, well, look, in DDR5, AMD's really, they top out at mostly 6,000. Intel is 7,000 and up. Why aren't you running Intel really hard at 7,000? And to me, I decided it would just not give me as fair a picture. But what are you doing for that?
We control the speeds, and I think I have a good answer for that. That I make this case to manufacturers. I actually just got into a more heated argument with a manufacturer about how we benchmark their product, and our stance on it. So first of all, there's fairness and consistency where if you're benchmarking, let's use DDR4 as a good example because it's been around forever. You're benchmarking DDR4, and you want to represent CPUs from Ryzen 1 to Ryzen 5000, and also all the Intel CPUs in between. You could approach it different ways, but our philosophy is we want to use the same memory speed for all of them. And so we chose for DDR4 back then, DDR4 3200, which people complained about, but actually the timings were so tight on the kit that it outperformed the vast majority of 3600 kits. And so we tuned it where this will run on everything, whereas 3600 wouldn't run on Zen 1.
Right.
And so we try to avoid those scenarios where you're starting to put an asterisk next to everything on the chart, saying this was run with 3200, this was run with 2666. I think this is the more important thing. For us, reviewing the product with fixed memory speeds to me, that is the review. Here's how it does. And then if it warrants a follow-up because one can do better clocks than the other, you do a follow-up and you remove that isolated variable and you say, okay, last time we tested them completely like for like, comparable, it's all fair and the same. And then this time, we're going to test them and we're going to see how high AMD clocks, how high Intel clocks, and we'll run them like that. And then you can't really lose because here's all of the numbers, you figure it out.
Right.
And I like that approach, and ultimately benchmarking is not a perfect science. You cannot possibly have both a realistic real-world scenario in all cases and a clean test environment that fairly represents the products in all cases.
Right.
So I think the answer is because it's not realistic to cram all that time into your review, if there's enough interest, you split them up. If there's an audience complaint or whatever, we would split it up. We'd say, okay, we heard your interest in higher frequency. Here's those numbers.
Another question is actual benchmarks that the vendors create. A lot of the vendors create their own benchmarks. Some of them based on real world applications, but they have scripts that they have. Intel's done this for a long time.
Principal Technologies.
Principal is that, there's all kinds of, and there's other third parties that do those. But would you ever consider it from a benchmark from a hardware vendor?
I'm trying to think if there's an example. So the best example I can think of is that whatever that software was that Principal Technologies was involved in. I don't know if they just used it or if they developed it. I don't remember. But the short answer is no. I mean, would we consider? I think if it's
like from Intel or AMD or NVIDIA, like
if
they have
NVIDIA,
tests.
yeah. So I guess so. If NVIDIA says this is a real one. Here's our tech demo. Star Wars ray tracing. By the way, there's no games that support ray tracing for the next 60 days. You. Here's RTX. In that scenario, I'm just creating work for Adam right now. The tick mark, the box and the YouTube upload, abbreviated or full swearing after 8 seconds in the video. So in that scenario, we said, no, we're absolutely not going to test RTX, Star Wars, whatever, because it's not a game, it's a tech demo, and there are no games which it can represent. So no, if a company, if Intel miraculously created some Adobe Premiere alternative that suddenly becomes an industry standard and 80% of people use it,
right,
then sure, we would test that because that's software people actually care about and use.
And to me, that is actually a very fair point, because if, say, magically one of the hardware vendors created something and they ran they're 80% of the market, everybody used it. Even though obviously it's going to favor their hardware,
yeah,
that's a pretty real world application, right?
It becomes real world, and you need to represent it because people actually want to know. Like they don't, they might not necessarily care. You can disclaim, hey, this Adobe Premiere equivalent is made by, it's NVIDIA Premiere, and everyone switched over to it because Premiere crashes, freezes all the time, and autosaves don't work. And Adam's shaking his head again. And if in that scenario it's real software, it's like, okay, you can disclaim to people, hey, this is going to benefit NVIDIA. or this is going to benefit AMD or Intel, but so many people use it, they want to know, should I buy the new thing? Is it better than the old thing? And it is our job to answer that question, because if you don't answer it, either someone else will, and they might do it poorly, or users will have to try and answer it, and it will not be done in a controlled way.
Right.
So
I mean, what about like QuickSync in Premiere? Is that heavily?
That's good.
That's a fair
That's
one.
good. So QuickSync and Premiere, that's another one where we get back to the answer. I love the answer of like isolated variables, because it allows you to combine the test conditions to be something you can complete within an actual review cycle. If you have a week to review a thing, you can't do it all. And so QuickSync and Premiere we did as a one-off years ago, and we tested, I think, with and without. We might have done like without CUDA or something, and the conclusion was that, hey, this was super useful, to the extent that we actually swapped all of our systems to Intel from AMD.
Right.
And that's a good one-off. Yeah. Yes. And it's like, it's an Intel technology. It's a third-party software, but it's something that, as video editors, someone in the audience should know about.
Right.
So,
But you would leave that to that one-off. Should you change would you ever consider changing your entire test suite to sort of turn on QuickSync for everything?
no. Yeah, I think that's the same answer I gave NVIDIA when they said, and this I'm curious your thoughts on. So NVIDIA, you probably got a similar presentation for the 4060 Ti. Did you sit in on one?
I'm not in the circle of trust on those
Okay.
for GPUs.
Was it related to the incident?
No, just
Okay.
it's just
Different incident.
somebody else does it.
Yeah, release the uncut clip of the incident. So for that presentation, they said we're between, and this is all public information, we're between whatever 15% or something better and 80% better than the 3060 Ti. And you look at the charts, you go, okay, so it's DLSS 3 is this big number, and their argument was you should test with DLSS 3. So this is back to your question, should QuickSync be on for all of it? It's like, should DLSS 3 be on for all of it? No, because it's not the same. Like, if you want to provide both numbers, fine. But I don't think it's fair, and I think it undermines the competition in a way which is unfair, to use something that intrinsically changes the way the software behaves to produce a result that users might not even turn DLSS 3 on.
Right.
So no, we wouldn't turn it on for everything, but we would consider maybe doing a set. So with DLSS and FSR, when they came out, we ran Cyberpunk numbers and all of our charts, and it was really complicated. We had 3 entries.
Right.
There's no DLSS, then it was like FSR.
And that's actually, this might gonna be my last question, because it's getting warm out here. My question is, I'm the internet. Why didn't you just run more tests? Why didn't you just run them all?
Why don't you run
more
the tests? You're the internet. There's a lot more of you than me. Go run your own tests.
How? I mean, really, does that really the time constraints, right? It's the time.
Yeah, I mean, so you can speak to this too, but just for perspective, so we're always open, and I do actually read the comments that are like, I think it comes down to framing, not to like lecture the audience, but I think it's down to framing of like, if you want us to really listen and consider the point, saying like, hey, I've noticed, whatever, in my own use or something, that in, let's use the QuickSync thing. I've noticed in Adobe Premiere, if I turn QuickSync on, it's a lot better. Do you think you guys can test that? Comes across a lot differently than, why don't you turn QuickSync on for everything? It's like the accusatory. But the actual answer is time, because for GPU and CPU reviews, we do our best to represent as many scenarios as we can, to help as many people as we can, in as fair a way as we can. And we run the benches almost 24/7 until the review goes up. So I move my schedule to be basically an overnight shift. I have someone who comes in at 9, he picks up the test. I have someone who comes in later in the day, he picks up the test. That allows us to get 24-hour benchmarking. And so we are at a point where it is literally physically impossible to add more tests. It's like, that's the whole clock, and without pushing people past a normal 8 hours a day for my, I'll do it, but I don't push my team like that unless we really have to. and so that's why. Yeah.
Okay, there you go, internet. That's why Steve can't run every test you want him to.
You can though. You're the internet.
Oh my God, yes. I'm the internet. I can run anything I want, especially when you log into my webcam to see me do it. $9.99 per hour. Oh no, that's too short.
That's
too,
it?
$9.99 per 5 minutes. Is it per minute?
I don't know.
It must be. It's got to be a minute. Is it $5.99? $5.99
Seems
a
like-
minute? It's got to be 5 minutes.
I feel like you're underselling yourself.
That seems like it's too cheap. It's got to be more than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we could talk about this forever, but we got to cut it because it's busy. Computex is just starting to crank up. By the way, you want to see awesome Computex videos? Go to Gamers Nexus channel,
there.
like and subscribe, click that bell, and buy some merch to help support the.
How many minutes was the video? Can I get $9.99 times about 20, 30? I owe this man money.
Did I say an hour? It's got to be 10
You
minutes.
said an hour. That's true.
$9.99 for 10
I'll give
minutes.
you $5.
And of course, go to PC World's channel, like and subscribe, and see more Computex 2023 coverage. It's going to be awesome. Computex is back. Log into my webcam.